We all know, even if you study.
Special town hall meeting in Maiduguri appraises the fight against insurgency in the country.
Trial of former PDP spokesman adjourned as he is conveyed to court on a stretcher.
Nasarawa State set to receive President Buhari on a one-day official visit.
And good morning, Nigeria. Today, our focus is on the progress of the school feeding program.
When in June 2016, the federal government formally launched the Homegrown school feeding program as part of its social investment intervention, Nigerians had high expectations.
Now, among others, the aim of the program is to tackle poverty and improve the health and education of children in public schools, as the children in primary schools are fed one meal per day.
And of course, the food is procured from local smallholder farmers, thereby empowering local farmers as well as strengthening communities across the country.
Now, nearly 2 years into the program, how much has it achieved? Records indicate that over 5 million pupils in more than 28,000 schools are being fed, and some 5,000 cooks are also currently employed under the program. 50,000 cooks, rather, are also being employed under the program.
Now, the program has also spread to some 19 states that's of the Federation, and you have Anambra, Enugu, Oyo, Osun, Ogun, Ebonyi, Zamfara, the Delta State, Abuja, Benue, Plateau. We also have Bauchi, Taraba, Kaduna, Akwa Ibom, and also Cross River, and not leaving out Jigawa and Niger State. Now, other states are expected to join in the coming months as the program spread out to other parts, in line with the concept of collaboration between the federal and state governments.
Now, while the program has indeed kicked off in the states that my colleague Blessing has ticked up, the picture has not been all rosy, as there are complaints of non-adherence, especially to the quality of food, as well as little or no regard to hygiene by some of the vendors.
You're quite right, Kingsley. For some cases of food diversion is also recorded, as well as the mismanagement of funds meant for the program have also been reported.
So, what other challenges is the program faced with? And then why are other states here to join? Is sustainability a potential challenge? And how much is the sourcing of food from local farmers contributing to economic growth and development?
Of these and other questions, we should try to elicit response from our guests as they join us in that part of the program today. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and this program is reaching you live on the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's largest television network. My name is Blessing Abu. Welcome.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Blessing and also welcoming you to today's edition of the program, in the course of which we shall have our regular complimentary segments, including business, newspaper review, sports foreign, and others. In the meantime, here's our colleague, Joy, with the morning news. Hi, Joy Osiago.
Hello, Kingsley and Blessing, and good morning and welcome to the news. Reappraising the nation's military, security, and security agencies in the fight against insecurity in Northeast was the main thrust of a special town hall meeting held in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. Organized by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, 4 cabinet ministers reeled out the federal government's determination in making the country safe for the entire citizenry.
Gallant men and women in uniform have made all the sacrifices, including the supreme sacrifice, to bring us here. Our political and military leaders have shown leadership in getting us here.
This administration has ensured the prompt payment of troops operation allowances are monthly emolument.
When you compare the situation we met and now, you discover that the Boko Haram terrorists have been completely disseminated.
Meanwhile, the federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to enhancing collaboration of people living in the border areas between Nigeria and Cameroon to scale up security. Minister of State Foreign Affairs Khadija Bukar Abba Ibrahim gave the assurance at the 6th session of Cameroon-Nigeria Trans-Border Security Committee meeting holding in Abuja.
There should be no doubt whatsoever of Nigeria's support for the unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Cameroon.
Our committee is gradually but surely gaining ground and is achieving the objectives assigned to it by our 2 heads of state.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, says it has recovered the sum of 473 billion naira between January and December 2017. Chairman of the Commission, Ibrahim Magu, made this known at the 2018 budget scrutiny before the House of Representatives Committee on Financial Crimes.
Recovery and final forfeiture of 449 million discovered at the Lezico Plaza in Victoria Island, Lagos. The recovery of 393 from oil marketers, withholding tax recovery of 27.7 billion from banks.
The Acting Director General of the Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission, Dr. Abdul Zubairu, says the Wando forensic audit is still ongoing and will be carried out without fear or favor. Speaking in an exclusive interview with NTA News, the acting DG said the Commission has a duty to act in the best interest of investors in line with the laws setting it up.
The important thing is that there are a lot of comments in the media surrounding Owando, and a lot of people try to link Owando to the investigation issues. Let me start by saying very strongly that those are 2 issues. The investigation is one thing, and it is separate from the Owando issue. So we should not link the 2 together. They are not the same, and we should treat it as such.
Now, turning to the health sector, an emergency National Council on Health meeting has been convened in Abuja to discuss the state of public health in the country, with a focus on the current outbreak of Lassa fever in some states. Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, urged states to improve their response and investment in prevention and control of diseases.
The question people will ask, did we prepare for this outbreak? The answer is yes. But somewhere along the line, we did not get the commensurate cooperation from the states. The question is, why did we fail? And this is why we thought it is important to bring this meeting together.
To some legal matters now, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has adjourned sitting on the alleged corruption charges against the former National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Olisa Metu, till March 14th for further hearing. The trial judge, Justice Okunabang, at the last adjourned date, ordered Metu to appear in court on February 5th or face the consequence of his bail being revoked.
today, a different scenario has played out in that, as we all saw, the man really looks down. And as human beings and as mere mortals, I mean, seeing with my eyes what I saw, I couldn't have played God, because all of us are liable to falling ill as human beings.
The application I made to His Lordship, the essence of it was primarily to enable the doctors fully examine him and draw their assessments and perhaps treat him. And we had asked for 1 month, we hadn't asked for 3 months or 6 months, because we are hopeful that perhaps within that period that he'll be well.
In the meantime, an Abuja High Court sitting in Jabi has fixed the 7th of this month for definite commencement in the case of culpable homicide against Mariam Sanda, accused of stabbing her husband Bilyaminu Haliru to death.
There's no authority known for now in respect of issue of pregnancy.
They tried to start, but they are not ready. They have not given us the statements of all the witnesses.
The government and people of Nasarawa State have been mobilized to give President Muhammadu Buhari a befitting reception during his one-day official visit to the state today. Joshua Ojito reports from Lafia that everything is set to receive the president.
Projects that were lined up for Mr. President's commissioning, flag off, and unveiling are all very, very ready. We have lined more than 15 different projects for Mr. President to commission.
And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll be back with Blessing and Kingsley after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. Every day, 16,000 children under the ages of 5 and thousands of adults die from infectious diseases. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily. In unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilet, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough to protect your family from germs. Use the power of Dettol's 1 Cap Full for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid, to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol Sure. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
Sore throats, it's often caused by bacteria and viruses. Feels like they're having a party. You need Strepsils. It soothes the pain, plus it fights the germs with 2 germ-killing actives. Double power in 1 lozenge. Bye-bye sore throat. Take Strepsils.
Helen!
Your kitchen gets 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
This also gets a 10. Should we see the toilet now?
Sure.
This gets just 1.
It is clean.
But not perfect 10.
Better than my detergent and bleach? Impossible.
Challenge? Try the new Apic 10X. Compared to bleach and detergent, Apic sticker formulation removes yellow stains times better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow.
Now you also take that
Apic 10X challenge.
Also available in 200 ml pack.
Time to take a check on business report for the day. Central Bank of Nigeria bumps up 2.2 trillion naira through open market operations in January 2018. Now let's join Joy Uzo for details of this, as well as other business reports. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Liquidity at the Nigerian money market remained tight, with the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN mop-up of 2.185 trillion naira from the system through open market operations, OMO auctions, which is held all through the month of January 2018. This is 41.7% higher than 1.542 trillion naira it mopped up through OMO auctions in December 2017. In January, it held open market operation auctions almost every day, taking out 344.47 billion and 553.17 billion naira in the first 2 weeks of the month. It also mopped up 369.41 billion naira in the third week, 477.92 billion naira in the fourth week, and 440.21 billion naira in the last 3 days of the month. Last week, the overnight lending rate rose by 683 basis points to 12.17%. Now, the National Pension Commission has recovered 13.58 billion naira from employers that deducted pension contributions from their employees' salaries but failed to remit the amount to the workers' respective retirement savings accounts. A report from PENCOM quoted the commission as saying its efforts in ensuring compliance by employers with the pension payment regulations are yielding positive results. The report indicates that as of September 2017, the sum of 13.58 billion naira had been recovered as outstanding pension contributions and penalties. As part of its compliance efforts, the Commission said it has been engaging the services of consultants to recover outstanding pension contributions from defaulting employers since 2012. And the federal government has commenced the 60-day action plan to drive the country's ease of doing business initiative. The National Action Plan 3.0 will build on reform efforts that started during the beginning of 2017-2018 reform cycle with SNAP 2.0, which aims to deepen the ease of doing business reforms implemented across the various ministries, departments, and agencies in the last 16 months. It will in turn increase productivity through industrialization, enhanced exports and foreign exchange earnings, while creating jobs and reducing poverty. Some of the reforms to be implemented include further enhancing the efficiency in tax remittances, including driving the adoption of electronic filing for taxes for all categories of companies, increase accessibility of affordable credit for SMEs, and also increase the number of SMEs that can access government contracts by communicating, among others. Moving on now, oil prices fell for a second day on Monday, nearing its lowest in a month, as rising U.S. output and a weaker fiscal market added to the pressure from a widespread decline across equities and commodities. Brent crude futures were down 36 cents at $68.22 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 13 cents to $65.32 a barrel. Now to the equities market, the all-share index closed negative at 44,261.77 basis points. Next is a graphic summary. And with that stock market report, we conclude this segment of the program. Many thanks for watching. I am Joy Uzo.
All right, thank you very much, Joy Uzo, there for the business package. Next for us, we take a look at the headlines on the front pages of some of today's newspapers.
Welcome by Atoye Biz already assisted. Good morning and welcome to today's edition of the review.
Did you notice that yesterday in the night it was excessively hot?
It's been so for some days.
Yeah, exactly. About 4 or 5 days, one night.
Yeah, so
now we have to be very careful. This is the era of meningitis.
Absolutely. Cerebrospinal meningitis.
So much dehydration for people, so they worry that people should take in more water.
That's right. That's rehydration is very, very crucial at this time. Unfortunately, in locations where you have poor public power supply, then it means that you have to
jeopardy.
That's right. It's that's the very good observation you made there. Now let's take a look at the front pages. You have different stories, but of course, as lead, by the way, and then but you have also a number of stories that have come onto the front pages. Let's begin with you.
All right, so I'll start off with Nigerian Tribune. We have different stories on the front pages there. Okay, leading for the Tribune, Nigerian Tribune, no more visa for expatriates getting jobs Nigerians can do, as Buhari signs executive order to improve local content procurement. This is derided there. But just above that, the other story is Olubadan installs 20-year-old undergraduate, 8 others as Mogaji. How I became Mogaji, that is the younger Adnan speaking. You find out more details on page 32. Electoral Act, Constitution Amendment ready soon. This is coming from Deputy Senate Leader Ikwere Madu. Now, health issues, Lassa fever death toll hit 31 in 15 states. This coming from federal government. Now, the photograph we have there is that one of the items in the news beats. Metu, that's Olisa Metu, from a PDP spokesman, brought to court on stretcher. Find out more details on page 33. Now, beside the photograph, you have anti-graft stories. Mago gives details of 511.9 billion naira recovered funds to reps, that's for the House of Representatives. And the breakdown is there. Those of the billion in naira, $1 million, well, just listed there. World Cancer Day, 70% cancer cases manifest late. This is coming from UCH CMD. With the rider, hospital records over 400 breast cancer cases annually. Okay, Kingsley, let's see what other
that's right. The EFCC story is the lead for Blueprint, and it comes with a kicker. 2017, EFCC recovers the various amounts that you can see on the screen there. And then the details of the story can be found on page 6. The EFCC recovery is also on the front page of the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper, both front pages are pretty busy with a number of headlines. Now, the composite photographs you find on the front page of the Punch, the photographs showing the former PDP spokesman on a stretcher when he was taken to court yesterday. That photograph is also there for the Blueprint. Now, the other stories that Blessing read on the Electoral Act and the Constitutional Amendments being ready, story attributed to Deputy Senate President, you have them there, also displayed on the front pages of both the Blueprint and Punch, with details inside. Then you have other stories bio. Let's take a look at the ones that we read before, but let's very quickly take a look at the lead story of the Punch, and that's a running copy, and it comes with a kicker. It says, controversial statement. Inspector General of Police declares Babangida's spokesman, Afegboa, wanted, accuses him of character defamation and others. That story is in greater detail on page 7. There are 2 earpieces beside the nameplate. Senate probe panel ignore Saraki's ultimatum and failed to present reports. Page 7. Lassa fever death toll hits 31 in 15 states. That's attributed to a minister. And above the nameplate, restructuring. PDP governors and National Working Committee ask party senators and reps to initiate bills. That's on page 9. And 152 million Nigerians live on less than $2 per day. That story is attributed to the African Development Bank. Now, there are other headlines we will take after Bayo has discussed these ones. Bayo.
Yes, let's start with the story relating to Olisametu, the former publicity secretary of the People's Democratic Party. He was brought to court on a stretcher yesterday. This was sequel to the judge's pronouncement on January 25th, when he was expected to be in court, but they presented a letter from the Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital saying that he was an admission. The judge then threatened that he will either be in court yesterday or he will revoke his bail. And apparently, he was brought into the court on a stretcher. But I looked closely, it didn't seem as if there was any medical personnel accompanying him, either a doctor or a nurse. And apparently, it is because it was against doctor's advice. And so his relations were the ones that had to shepherd him into the court. But however, the judge emphasized that the court needs to be firm at all times. And nevertheless, the court also can be very humane, and therefore they now adjourn the case till 15th of March. You recall that he's standing trial for allegedly collecting 400 million naira from the office of the former National Security Advisor. There are worrying and conflicting reports coming from Benue. The police says they have flushed out all mercenaries from communities in Benue, and relative peace is beginning to return to a place they call as Yobo. This was made known by the Commissioner of Police, Fatai Osheni. He even revealed that 15 additional units of police and special forces have been deployed, and the intelligence unit have increased. And he was assuring that the command also rescued a non-commissioned officer who went missing, and he has already been reunited with his family. However, Punch is reporting that suspects believed to be herdsmen have attacked Waku village and also a farmhouse belonging to Governor Otom at Bajimba, and 2 persons were reportedly killed. The Commissioner for Information, Lawrence Onoja, has recalled that before the advent of the anti-grazing law, there were no less than 46 series of attacks in various communities in Benue that led to the law. But meanwhile, Kano State government, while launching what it described as a livestock resource and animal program, called on herdsmen, particularly, especially those in Benue and Taraba, to relocate to Kano State. He was doing this launching at a place called Kadawa. He says Kano State has vast grazing land to accommodate them and their cattle at Rogo, Gaya, Kura, Tudunwada, Ungogo, and other places. However, the best advice to offer Governor of Kano State is to ensure that herdsmen are screened of alleged militants, because all information coming from the conflict between farmers and herders seems to point to the fact that the herder has their militants and the farmers also have their militants. And he needs to be very careful so as not to import militants along the herdsmen.
Well, let's take a look at other stories on the front page of the other papers we have. I have this day, just above the nameplate, PDP declares 2019 presidential ticket open for all. And there is a writer to that story, rejects Oshebajo panel on herdsmen farmers conflict. Now, just after that, you have this insert story. President signs executive order to enhance local content in public procurement. I think I saw that in the other paper I took earlier. Now, leading for this day, Nigeria pays U.S. government $496 million for acquisition of 12 Tucano fighter jets. And the writer says, Shetima, Lord's War Theatre Commander, General Nicholas, says predecessor was a disaster. Now, moving down the paper, Egmont, that's the kicker. Senate, House disagree on NFIU as threat of Nigeria's expulsion looms. Of course, that is Nigerian Financial Intelligence Units there as threat of Nigeria's expulsion looms. The story that Kingsley read earlier on Afegwa, that's IG, that's Inspector General, declares Afegwa Babangida's spokesman wanted. More details on page 12. Kingsley?
All right, let's come back to the front page of the Punch newspaper, just the foot of the front page of the Punch newspaper. You have a number of headlines there that we'll take. It says, Bayo already discussed the herdsmen farmers clashes. Herdsmen killed 32 thieves in Taraba this year. That's according to a group report. Details of that story on page 12. My Kano visit, not political, says Vice President Oshibajo. That's on page 10. And federal government to remove VAT from airlines charges. That's on page 25. And also there on page 25, it's federal government to provide insurance cover for 3.8 million farmers. And son, age 7, testifies against father accused of defiling 3-year-old daughter. That story is in greater detail on pages 4 and 5. Then to return to Blueprint newspaper, that's below the nameplate, says 0.3 million displaced Nigerian refugees in Cameroon, Chad, and Niger. That story is attributed to the federal government. 2 die of diarrhea, 82 hospitalized in Kaduna. And Dogara tasks media owners on journalists' welfare. And those are the stories that Bayo, that's right at the foot of the front page of Blueprint, says Buhari's visit. Police deploy 4,000 personnel in Nasarawa.
Yes, President Muhammadu Buhari is expected on a one-day visit to Nasarawa State. Governor Tanko Al-Makura described it as he's coming to his political laboratory. He says that Nasarawa State was the launch pad for the President Muhammadu Buhari for what he described as his ideology and vision of transparency, fighting corruption, and enhancing social justice. Nasarawa State has lined up a series of projects for commissioning. And you recall that Nasarawa State was the first and the last of the Congress for Progressive Party, the former party of the President Muhammad Buhari, before the alliance of the All Progressive Congress. But there is a worrying story coming in Bayelsa. 2 youth groups have clashed at Okwama. The youth group were said to belong to some members of 2 political parties. And this is worrying because 2019 is around the corner, and already it is said that these youth groups were thugs organized by 2 political parties. In the exchange, one of them was shot and he died later on at the Niger Delta University Teaching Hospital where he was being treated. There's need to caution our politicians about this youth group. Yesterday was World Cancer Day. Cancer is simply the growth of cells in our body every day that gets out of control. Cancer is treatable if it's detected early, and therefore there is need for all of us to be very conscious of cancer. For our mothers and sisters, particularly cervical and breast cancer screening periodically, and for our brothers and fathers, prostate screening will help. However, there's a study published by American College of Cardiology, and it says noise from trains, planes, and cars have been identified as possible causes of heart diseases. They didn't add generator noise. I would have said Nigerians were in trouble.
Heart disease?
Yes.
What's the linkage?
Well, what the report says that the risk is of common heart disease raises instances of hypertension and diabetes, and noise causes abundance in metabolism and abnormalities.
Yeah, and then what you just mentioned now would be a critical factor as well, generator noise, because your heart will be working with the generator, and then all kinds of...
Especially this one that sound like grinding machines.
That's right. Plus the toxic fumes that we all inhale. So I'm sure if we were to get into our various lungs now, you'll see all kinds of dark spots, even though we are not smokers. I'm sure that Bayo, you have a way of cleansing your system as a potentially far priest. I'm sure that one will protect you. Bayo TV, thank you for being with us. So you have another story to read. I say that's the most we can take. Bayo TV, thanks a lot for being here. See you tomorrow midweek. All right, so we'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be getting to our discussion segment.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. Every day, 16,000 children under the ages of 5 and thousands of adults die from infectious diseases. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily. In unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilet, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 Cap Full for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid, to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
When I was a little girl, I loved spending time with Mum and Grandma cleaning the house. I knew what Grandma's secret was. I was so excited to sing in the choir.
And your shirts are always so white.
I knew what Mum's secret was. Today, I'm a modern woman that still trusts the secrets passed down to me.
It's Jik, of course, the trusted bleach which can be used all around your house for amazing results. Shh, it's our little secret. It's no secret. Jik removes 101 stains. Just Jik it.
Whenever pain occurs, you want quick relief. Try Nurofen Express. It goes to the source of pain and gets to work in under 15 minutes. That's why Nurofen Express delivers fast and effective relief. Nurofen Express works at the source of pain. Fast.
Being a mom is great, but when your child has a fever, you don't know what to do. I trust Nurofen for Children to take care of my child's pain and fever.
Effective relief you can trust.
The time has come for Nigeria to take her rightful place in world sports with the first national grassroots sports festival to discover and prepare sport talent and develop future world champions for Nigeria. The festival date is 3rd to 10th March 2018. Venue is the National Stadium, Abuja, packages A and B. This is the opportunity for you to promote your brand through the festival. For broadcast sponsorship, which include live broadcasts, highlight shows, and TV fans show, contact the Chairman, Chief Coordinator, Angelo Peter I. Elosia, or Nick Onyishi. Organizers, Grassroots International Sports Academy and LOP Worldwide Television. Endorsed by the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. Broadcast partner, NTA.
Chief. Good morning, sir. You are here already?
No, now my spirit day, my body day for house. What kind of question is that? Were you not the one that fixed this meeting for 8 a.m.? You are now coming by 10 a.m. and start asking me jam questions.
But Chief, now, I'm sorry. Don't you also go late for meetings sometimes? You know now, African time.
No more African time. And no more pancaking of face during office hours. At the end of the day, we will lose valuable time. We will not make progress. If we want to move this nation forward, we must treat business as business and respect time. Change begins with me.
Thank you, sir. I am sorry. Can we go for the meeting now, Chief?
Better.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, you're welcome back. But if you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you live on Africa's largest television network, the Nigerian Television Authority. Today, our discussion centers on the school feeding program, and as a background for that conversation, let's join our correspondent, Timothy Yusuf, for a report.
The Governing All Progressives Congress APC during electioneering in 2015 promised various social welfare programs. The Homegrown School Feeding Program is one of such programs and aims at providing a free, nutritionally balanced and locally sourced meal to pupils in public schools. The program was also designed to improve school enrollment and completion, stimulate agricultural production and create employment opportunities for the host communities. Launched in 2016, the program is currently operating in 19 states and providing school meals to about 5.5 million children in public primary schools. The government has indicated its intention to expand the program to all the 36 states and the FCT. When this is done, the program will feed about 24 million children, making it the largest school program in Africa. Experts have commended the efforts of government in implementing the large-scale initiative, which they described as a win-win-win for school children, farmers and the community. As at August last year, the federal government was said to have spent 6.2 billion naira on the school feeding program in 14 states. With more states now keying in, the question of funding and sustainability have become very crucial. Experience from some previous social investment programs like this have not been palatable due to mismanagement and corruption. If the impact of the program so far is anything to go by, there is every need for all stakeholders to be involved in nurturing it and ensuring that it works. Already, it has encouraged attendance at schools and reduced absenteeism. But what is slowing down the adoption of the program by other states? Are there issues that need to be strengthened to make the program more effective? These are some questions guests on Good Morning Nigeria shall be dealing with shortly.
Thank you very much, Timothy Yusuf. You're quite right. The guests are seated and ready to attend to some of those questions you've raised in the program. Now, at this point, we are going to start over by welcoming our guests. And first, we'd like to welcome Hajia Miriam Uwais. She is the Special Advisor to the President on Social Investment. Welcome, Hajia Uwais.
Thank you for having me.
Also here in the Abuja studio, we have Ene Obi. She's the Country Director, Action Aid Nigeria. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Kingsley, we have other guests joining us.
Yes, we have another guest with us here in the Abuja studios. Is Dr. Bamidele Omotola, a nutritionist. Dr. Omotola, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. And from our Enugu Network Center, we have Mr. Ifeanyi Ona. Ifeanyi Ona is a coordinator of the Social Intervention Program in Enugu State. Mr. Ona, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, so let's begin with Hajia Miriam Uwais. This program is part of the social investment of the current administration. More than 18 months since the program kicked off. What has been the level of implementation?
Well, we're currently actually in 20 states. We're feeding over 6 million children. We've served over 246 million meals, and we have over 30,000 women being paid directly by us into their accounts to feed these children. And well, there are also secondary beneficiaries. We're in over 60,000 schools around the country. And well, it's been a very fulfilling experience. It's working in many parts, but we have come across a number of challenges at state level when it comes to implementation, because we need for the state to take ownership. And some of those issues we cannot coordinate from Abuja. So we're really happy that this is happening, because we need the public to help us in monitoring and giving us a feedback. We're actually getting in monitors, but it also helps when we get the feedback from the grassroots about what is happening actually in the classrooms when it comes to feeding.
Okay, so you said issues with some of the states. Are these homogeneous issues across board? And in 18 months, just 20 states, why the drag?
Well, we have 4 programs, as you know, where the beneficiaries can actually apply directly. We're in every state. So that's the N-Power and the G programs. But where we require the state to take steps, we won't move until they buy in. So that's the cash transfer and the homegrown school feeding. So we're not in every state because everything comes, there's a process. There's an MOU that is signed, and we have to have a stakeholders meeting with the state officials. We need the chairman of SUBEB to give us access to those primary schools, the numbers of primary schools. We need the commissioners for agriculture, for health, to sit down and give us a menu that is nutritional for that age of children. And we have a team led by the IITA that's helping us with nutritional content. But the Ministry of Agriculture gives us the schemes that are available and the food that is affordable in that state. And so the state selects the cooks around the primary schools. We don't know where the primary schools are. And we train them on hygiene, on allergies, on financial skills. And then the state onboards them and generates BVN for them, opens accounts for them, and then we begin to pay. So you see there are different steps that need to be taken, and if the state has not complied, we will not pay. And unless we have at least 70% of our cooks with seamless name, bank account details, BVN, everything matching, we can't pay. So that has been a tedious process because we go back to the state, we go to NIBS, and NIBS says, the names don't match, you only have like 24% of them, and we go back to the state. And because of the levels of literacy of these women who are cooking, it goes back and forth. They come back to us, now it's 54%. We go back until we get 70%, we don't start payments.
I'm wondering, when the program started, it was on a pilot basis, and the rollout was supposed to be accelerated going forward. If you have 20 states, it means that you have 16 states and perhaps the FCT that haven't keyed in, unless the program is running the FCT. What then do you expect in terms of energizing or mobilizing the states that have not bought into this program? I mean, how long is the program supposed to run for?
Well, this quarter, we have 6 states that are ready, so that's 26 states, just this first quarter. But for the other states, some states are really not interested, it appears. We keep going back, and we've had the leadership. The Vice President has called a few of the governors to say, look, what is happening? Because this is shortchanging your children. The concerns that 1 or 2 have expressed is what was mentioned here, sustainability. How do we start feeding, and how do we continue feeding? So they're a bit wary of starting and not being able to continue. And some of it is a misconception. They believe that we're waiting for them to also feed classes 4 to 6. And so it's a heavy investment for them. We encourage them to feed classes 4 to 6. But we will feed classes 1 to 3 irrespective.
Which states have been food dragging?
Well, in particular, Lagos and Edo have not come on board. But for the others, we've gone far in terms of the processes. We haven't gone very far with Lagos and Edo.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go over to our Enugu Network Center, where we earlier introduced the coordinator of the program in Enugu State. That's Mr. Ifeanyi. Mr. Ona, give us a sense of how the school feeding program is panning out in your state.
Thank you very much. First of all, I must appreciate the federal government for this program, because Among the 4 social investment programs, Homegrown school feeding program seems to be the most critical one that has gone down the grassroots to touch lives in very special ways. In the sense that Enugu in particular, you understand we have more than 313,000 pupils supposed to be fed. And we discovered a lot of things in the process. Why? Because when we talk about out of school, or children who are supposed to be in school and are not in school, there is this very important need for government to really investigate into the reasons or causes why the children, especially at basic education level, are not in school. School feeding program has brought up a lot of discoveries to our own amazement, in the sense that we never knew there were these children who are there and can't go to school because they have no breakfast, they have no lunch, they are not healthy. They have one reason or the other why they are not in school. Our experience in Enugu, the period we've started this program, we are so amazed by, honestly, increasing level of enrollment of pupils in schools. These days, it is even difficult to control children who are rushing into school simply to benefit from the homegrown school feeding program. So I think I salute the federal government initiative for bringing this program on board, because it has brought the children who are at home and in the streets and hawking in the markets, they are all back to school now. We are still expecting more, because most of our head teachers, the challenge they have these days is no longer about the quality of the food, the timeliness of the vendors, but how to control intake. Children come in every day and on daily basis. I must say that what is important about this is that now that the federal government introduced this program, there should be concerted efforts to ensure sustainability from states and from the federal, working together to ensure that we achieve all things derivable from this program. I must say thank you to the federal government, and I also want to say that it couldn't have been that successful in Enugu State without a huge support from the state governor, His Excellency, Right Honorable Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi. It is because he created that conducive environment, blessed the program, and that was why the program is really thriving and making serious positive impact in Enugu State.
Much, Mr. Ifeanyi Ona. So what we're trying to tell you is that all over the state, get to see some of those areas in different communities, all the issues that have been raised are also already addressed. Okay, we also have other reports from other parts of the country. Let's take the situation in Osun State, and Adeni Taiwo is our guide from there.
It is the most celebrated of the administration's programs, the school feeding program, popularly called All Meals. All Meals is an offshoot of a moribund federal government World Bank school feeding project introduced in 2004, which was only sustained by Osun and Kano states. The Rauf Aregbesola government repackaged it in 2012.
We met a system where kids were fed in school, but the food was not enticing to the children. The children were not eating the food, but he repackaged the same homegrown school feeding and health program, called it All Meals, and approached it in such a way that is beneficial to the children, to the parents, to the state.
It is an integrated package focusing on poverty alleviation, health, employment, school enrollment, intelligence quotient development, among others.
We approached some nutritionists at Bafemi Awolowo University and also at the University of Osun to give us a menu that will develop the mental capacity of children of that age, the best nutrients for children of that age group. And they gave us a menu.
At the takeoff, 3,007 women who were community food vendors were trained and provided with catering materials, having been certified medically fit. The vendors get their supplies of eggs, fish, chicken and beef from appointed contractors, while they grow other stuffs by themselves.
We have engaged the services of 3,007 community caterers. We empower them to be able to meet those weekly social gatherings by giving them some loan.
They started with 42 naira food per child, serving a population of 254,000 pupils in elementary 1 to 4. But this has been increased to 70 naira following the federal government intervention.
They are eating balanced diet. They will give them fruits, then the real food, they will give them eggs. Sometimes they will give them meat or fish, and the food is very rich.
On Tuesday, rice and peas with chicken, porridge potato with fish stew, meat and stew with egg.
The Osun School Feeding Program has attracted stakeholders in social development across the country, providing a platform of study for many states who have keyed into the program.
The fact that when you feed a child in school, which is not very common in Nigeria, I think you have provided the fundamentals. The environment is good and the teachers are fine, and from what I can see visibly, you have all the teaching aids. So what Osun has done can invariably propel the education of the upcoming generation of Osun.
I think it's a model for the whole country to emulate, even the whole world.
We've been looking at several social protection initiatives, and in our discussions, we found that there are some states.
All right, now that's the situation report from Osun State. Now we also have a situation report from Niger State, and our correspondent Mary Noel Berger gives us this report.
The National Homegrown Feeding Program is one of the major planks of the Buhari administration's social investment programs, introduced to feed millions of primary school pupils across the nation. The program is also projected to provide over 1 million jobs across the country, with about 17 states already benefiting from the scheme. Niger State is among the states that benefited from the first phase of the school feeding program, with over 2,000 public primary schools earmarked for it. The schools visited then included Jetubutu Primary School, Toba Ese Primary School, and Albishiri Primary School, as well as Limawa Primary School, Umar Audi, and Waziri Primary Schools. In all schools visited, the pupils were in joyous mood and full of appreciation to the government. Despite the fact that the school homegrown program is appreciated by stakeholders in Niger State, it is not without challenges.
And the problem is money, and the angry that they are not distributed on time. The dilemma we are having at the local government, that was the main problem.
Delay in the release of food stock is a major challenge, as food vendors are made to go to the local government every day to collect the stuff, which made the process difficult.
Sometimes when we implemented some things, they may not understand what precisely they are. And you're not dealing just with educated people, but you're dealing with uneducated people.
Niger State Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Development, Amina Musagwa, who now oversees the affairs of the school homegrown feeding program, speaks on new measures and control.
Through the support of the state government, we've been able to appoint 274 monitors who will monitor this program every day and report back to the desk officers.
The National Homegrown School Feeding Program is one among the 4 ongoing social intervention programs of the federal government.
All right, that's a report. That's a report from our correspondent in Niger State. Earlier we listened to the report from Osun, but let's return to our guests to continue the conversation. We'll take another report from another state going forward. But let's this time bring in Mrs. Obi, Ene Obi, who is of Action Aid. You listen to the background report, of course. You also listen to the implementation situation with regard to the special advisor to the Mr. President on this program. 18 months later, or slightly above that, what is your assessment of the school feeding program?
Well, from the Action Aid point, we're looking at social justice, the issues of social justice in poverty eradication. Yes, we are talking of school feeding. Some of the states, we have seen beautiful programs on the TV, you know. I don't know how it is on ground. And that is some of the worries. We have actually worked very closely with Hajia Mariam and her office in terms of, you know, I think the confusion, some of the shortcomings that they're seeing in terms of monitoring. And so it made them to come to Action Aid, because we have done some of the programs also at the community levels as well. And they came to us to say they would want monitors. How do they know? Because the federal government is in Abuja, right? And we have the state governments in the state capitals. We also have the local governments. Some of the local governments are not involved. Some of the states are involved, but some of the local governments, you can't even get the buy-in or the way to carry out, you know, the implementation. And so that made us to come together, you know, after the launch of the program, you know, last year, made us to come together with the program team to look at what is it that civil society can do. They actually called for the civil society. What is it that we can do together in order to monitor this process? You can get beautiful reports from people, but those who are on ground, you know, most likely. And so it cost us to advertise, to make a major advert, you know, for civil societies across the country. Action Aid advertised, and surprisingly, there were so many people who wanted to come. And the way we brought them in was, you are coming on your own if you are committed to the Nigerian child. You need to come on your own because we need to get on the round table to talk. And we had almost about 500 organizations. I remember you were at the lunch. You know, you came to, you know, have a talk with everyone. And we had that. So they came together at NUC. There were so many from different states of the Federation. So we had to, at the end of day one of that meeting, we came together and they created, they had to come with a committee, come up with a committee, each state getting together right on the spot there to nominate a representative. That brought them into a committee to say, let's have a further discussion. How do we create a framework to discuss, or the framework for monitoring? And we came together, you know, people came together, and we went into day two. And there we had a professor, that's Professor Adetola, who went into working with the team, the committee, to bring out a draft of a framework. After that, we realized that the group was still too large because it's 36 plus 1. That's plus FCT. The group was still too large. We found that there are some big groups that we needed to make sure that they are in a steering committee that will be able to raise they have membership across the Federation. And that made us to bring in a special seat for the Nigerian Labour Congress, you know, with TUC, and also bring in the MBA and a couple of other organizations, including some people from the cluster states. What they did was to do an election again with geopolitical zones, say you will represent, but you'll be responsible to sharing the information. And that came together. And so after, I think, after that process of saying, let's go back and see what we can do within the region, we had to go further. The federal government again came and said they wanted the third-party monitors. And the third-party monitors was supposed to be paid. Actually, they will monitor and give the report to Action Aid. Of course, Action Aid, you know, staying at the background says, we cannot be paid by the federal government. We will contribute because we're already working on poverty reduction. We will make our contributions, but we'll look for our own funding to maintain that objectivity. It's not a witch hunting thing to say, we are going to give you a report and so. The federal government provided a platform to say we can meet meet every other 2 months, I mean every other month, you know, to come together, give us the feedback. If there are things that are going wrong, we'll be able to sort it out. And so
what have you found out?
Yeah, that's right.
What have you found out in all of this monitoring, evaluation of the program generally? Is it what the trouble everyone have brought on?
Yes, I want to try to explain it that that process is still ongoing, because at the end of the day, the third-party monitors that the federal government said they were going to pay, there wasn't funding for it, though they said they were going to pay. So we started looking for funding, of course, with the collaboration of the office. And we're able to get a MacArthur Ford Foundation that says they could provide some money. We also got a DFID. You know, in terms of the other monitoring, that was MacArthur and the Ford Foundation. But when we are now going into the field for the third-party monitors, which we again advertise, and giving some basic criteria, like, you know, you have to be an organization that is paying tax, that you are registered, there are some criteria that were established. And so there was a short listing which came in from both the committee from the social investment program and also other programs, DFID, and some interested parties.
All right, Mr. B,
So
we'll get
NBDC, I just want to state that we got 2 organizations. The way we are starting our monitoring, we are not doing it across the country.
Okay.
We're doing it.
So there's still some issues to
there's
be looked into.
still
Okay,
some issues.
We'll get back to you in the course of the discussion to see what other area to streamline. Now let's get quickly to Dr. Bamidele Motola. He's a nutritionist. From the reports of the situation report and also the background report we took. Now, one of the essence of this school feeding program is to address issue of health as well as that of nutrition. Would you say some of those greatest concerns are being addressed from what you've observed, and what's your own general assessment of the school feeding program in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. I think one of the major challenges has to do with the issue of nutrition and health that you mentioned. And from the background discussions and even the presentation from Aja Owais indicated that that is one area where they've not done very well in trying to measure or articulate processes to be able to define what had been achieved in the course of the 18 months. One of the cardinal objectives, one of the 3 cardinal objectives are to be improvement in health and nutrition. The question is, what is the nutritional situation of those children they want to improve? You cannot talk of improvement without knowing where are you starting from. And I'm also happy Osun Titi, the Deputy Governor of Osun State, mentioned that they went to some institutions to get a menu plan. The question is, what is the base, the national base, the national dietary guideline that they are going to use? We do know and recognize that in the different parts of this country, we have different foods, and the program itself says that they want to be as close as possible to the communities to be able to generate inputs from the local farmers, improve the local economy. So in some areas, there are some particular foods that are very, very common that you find locally. And you can see from Niger State comments that they have to go to the local government headquarters and ask people to come from the different communities where the schools are located to come and get food centrally. I think these are some of those teaching problems. It may not be in every location. It may not be in the 20 schools, 20 states where the program is running. But it also calls attention that we need to rejig and refine. And I also observed that they have a robust guideline that is prepared, but I do not think that that guideline is strictly followed. And I think that's the area where the issue of monitoring should be focused to ensure that the guideline prepared are strictly followed. The school-based management committee is also where the communities can also be partner in the implementation of this program. So I think if all these guidelines are strictly monitored and see the different aspects are monitored and documented, then it's going to help the improvement of the program. It's not too, it's an 18-month program. So far, we've gone 18 months, and it's a program that I think we should be enduring. So we are learning as we build the ship, and I'm sure that we'll get a smooth sail. at the end of the day.
I just wonder, just one observation. You saw from the video clips that our correspondent sent to us, perhaps with the exception of Osun, these pupils had no water, but the meal was smacked there, even if they were setting all of that up for television. What's your advice with regard to serving a meal and apparently there's no water to drink?
Well, these are part of those shortcomings. The school system is a complete system. Some schools, as far as I know, some public schools, primary schools, have no toilets, have no source of potable water, and the cooks, I think the cooks cook from home, not in school. And some of these things are some of those things that they needed to have ensured that are basic provisions that are in those schools if they have to meet the requirement for health and nutrition. But if these are not there, then we are not starting. And that's why I said that it's part of the guidelines that we should look into. And I'm sure that while the federal government is concerned about providing the seed fund to be able to provide the meals, the state governments, the local governments, the communities, they also have roles to play in providing the infrastructure for it to be able to happen. And if it is not done, and if it is not monitored, and I think while Ajam Ways was talking earlier, he said that they need to ensure that they get to about 75–80% of what is required before they allow them to implement the program. So if they have not met all these things, there's no point going into some of these programs.
All right, Dr. Motala, thank you very much. We'll come back to you. Let's bring in again Hajia Miriam Owais. Hajia, you listen to the various comments made in terms of measurement, in terms of monitoring, and the observed gaps.
Yes.
What are your reactions?
Yes, they're really valid concerns, and we have been listening. One of the things we have begun since from August last year is enumerating the pupils and also taking their weight and measuring their arm so that we have a baseline to know, in fact, whether we're making any progress in terms of the nutritional aspect. So we're counting the children because what we find is that we want to be able to say this is the increase in the number. And in fact, some of the numbers given to us by SUBEB are actually exaggerated. So it's when we go in and then we now see that these are the numbers, but they keep growing every day. Now, we have other programs that are working, like the NPower, as I mentioned earlier. So NPower now is measuring the farmers for us. It's going to be measuring the farmers, the land, and all of that. We have the N-Health. They're also in every community. They are going to be encouraged to measure the nutritional content to ensure that they're giving us feedback on whether the food that is presented because they're teaching in these primary schools. Okay. We also have the N-Teach themselves. One of the issues that has come back to us is even the hygienic condition of the school itself. You know, and so we try to engage UBEC to speak to the SUBEB chairman so that they get back to us as to how the school-based management committees can play an active role. We actually speak to them in the beginning, inform them on what we're doing, but feedback is random. You know, there's no compulsion, so it depends on who says what. This is why we've been engaging different parties so that we've even launched a track with us, public, just walk into any primary school and let us know. We've engaged the SSS because we realized that there was fraud in some states. We've engaged the EFCC because people were taking advantage of the levels of literacy of these ladies and these cooks, and they were diverting money from their accounts to special accounts. You know, so all of these things, they're evolving concerns and we're having to address them. But it is really something that we want. We want the public to give us this feedback because that's the only way if we bear in mind that this is about our children, then people will take responsibility.
I'm wondering, just listen, you were talking about measurement, for instance. You said, okay, you take the weight of the children. Weight is usually a critical factor. in determining how healthy a child is at that particular level. But you also talked about measuring their arms. What is the function of that? Is it, when we're to be admitted into primary school in those days, you had to do this, and if you didn't touch your ear, are we returning to that?
No. There's this particular MWAC thing that they use to measure the arm to know the nutritional content. It's from the arm. There's a particular measure, kind of tape that tells you whether it's improving or not.
Oh, I see.
You understand?
Perhaps you can also sort out potential boxers and wrestlers.
But apart from, we've got the government empowerment program, because we give loans to, and some of what we're seeing in some states is some women are provided utensils by the state governments. Some can't afford, so it's random. Some are feeding in paper bags.
Exactly,
so
because I was going to draw your attention to them, because you said at least some of the concerns from the states for those who are actually trying to defraud some of the vendors.
Yes.
There were in the reports about the issue from Niger. There were also children being fed in polythene bags.
Yes. So what we've got is JEEP now. Our JEEP is a government empowerment program that is giving loans to people at the bottom of the financial pyramid. There's no interest element, but there's a 5% admin fee. So if you take 50,000, you pay back 52,500 because we need to pay the agents. So we're trying to speak to the utensil providers. You provide the utensils to these women, and these women will sign up for JEEP loans. And within 6 months, they would have paid back. Because we need some standard. And this is something that we noticed was evolving. It's not, we had assumed, as many of the holy books assume that we are good people, you know, that certain things would happen. But obviously, there are a lot of gaps that are emerging. So we just need to keep ourselves on it. And once we get these utensils supplied, we have a sense of standard. Now, some are serving 1 spoon, some are serving 2 spoons, some are serving 3 spoons. So all of this.
You on a quartered bread. We saw that on the social media.
Yes,
some people have been doing that.
We actually investigated that. That particular one was a politically motivated.
Really?
Yes, it wasn't.
All right, let's find out some other situation report. We have a situation report from Kaduna State, and we'd like to see it now to link us to other areas.
We were disturbed at the state of education that we found in the state, and we are determined to restore the integrity and quality of public schools.
The school feeding program, being one of the campaign promises of APC-led government, was pioneered by Kaduna State APC-led administration of Malam Nasiru Ahmed El-Rufai. Since inception in 2016, therefore, Kaduna State government used to spend over 1 billion naira weekly to feed primary 1 to 6 pupils across the 23 local government areas of the state. 8 months later, the state government saw the need to suspend the feeding program, but continued with the renovation of schools and provision of infrastructure in all the local government areas of the state.
Since the federal government is supposed to handle the aspect of primaries 1, 2, and 3, we contacted the federal government to get a refund for what we spent in feeding primaries 1, 2, and 3.
Program at inception created thousands of jobs to women employed as food vendors. Tailors were also employed for the provision of free uniform for the pupils in public primary schools, among other businesses relevant to the program. With the suspension of the program by Kaduna State government, the federal government later started its component of the program that target pupils in public primary 1 to 3. Like the school feeding program handled by the Kaduna State government for pupils from primary 1 to 6, the school feeding program under the federal government, however, had its own challenges.
We need to have a rethink and involve the state governments, by clearly defining roles for each and everyone. The federal government, the state government, and the local governments.
Presently, Kaduna State government awaits the reimbursement of over 3 billion naira from the federal government, which is suspended in the feeding of primary 1 to 6 for 7 weeks in 2016 to be able to sustain the program.
All right, thank you very much there for that report from Kaduna. Of course, it's in the same images or visuals with regard to the absence of water being served along with the meals, except for Osun, which we saw. I'm sure Dr. Motola has already addressed that. But let's return to Ifeanyi Ona at our Enugu Network Center. Is the coordinator of the program, the social intervention program in Enugu State. You extolled the virtues already of the school feeding program in Enugu. You talked also about the active encouragement and participation by His Excellency Right Honorable Governor of your state. But tell us something more. What is it you have observed with regard to the enthusiastic reactions of the pupils in urban and rural areas? That's the first question. And second question is, what is it that you have also found to be some of the teething challenges that could linger for much longer?
Thank you very much. With regards to the pupils' reactions to the program, we go on monitoring and we interview some of the children, both in the rural and urban areas, to find out how they feel about the food given to them in terms of quality, taste, the conduct of the vendor, as well as other pressures that could come from the school environment. And we cannot say it is just 100% successful without blemishes. There are pockets of challenges here and there, especially the late arrival of some cooks at the school. We planned it in such a way that feeding in Enugu State should not interfere with the normal school activities. The academic activities should go on the way they are naturally, while the feeding takes place during break. During the period that the children are supposed to have their break, they feed, they eat, and then have like 10-15 minutes to walk around, run around, ease themselves, and come back to classroom. But our experience showed that some of the vendors, before they could arrive some of these schools, you find out that break was over, and then bringing the food into the classroom somehow disrupts the normal academic activities. We must also point out the fact that the impact is far-reaching in rural areas where we seem to have this high level of the children. Yes, those in urban areas also experience it, but we discover that many children in the rural areas do not go to school, either because of poor health situation and sometimes no breakfast for them, and they have no hope of having lunch even when they come back from school. So parents sometimes ask them, stay home, there is nothing for you to eat. But with the introduction of the school meal program, we discovered that all the children in the rural areas, most of them clamor to go to school voluntarily, even when they have to cover distances, just to enjoy that meal. We are saying that as good as that may be, there are still some areas where the federal government and the state government need to work together to see how we can settle that. And that has to do with this issue of monitoring and evaluation. You see, we cannot understand the true impact of this program except there is an effective monitoring and evaluation, where we need to assess from time to time, the impact of this program vis-a-vis the outlined from the onset. And then we measure specifically level of achievement of each of these values we design and expected to achieve through this program. Monitoring and evaluation is a big challenge in the sense that federal government has a beautiful structure. They have trained some of us on how to implement that. At the state level, we also used our own initiative because federal government is there at the Abuja they may not be there with us at the state level to know the real experience and the environment on ground. So we also have our own structure. But generally, this program cannot function well without effective mobilization of the education secretaries, the school-based management committees, the parents, even the organized NGOs who monitor voluntarily on their own. At Enugu here, we also engaged traditional rulers to help us because these schools belong to them, the children belong to them, the teachers belong to them, and one very good thing we have taken that is working very well for us is that our governor insisted that every cook that must be recruited must come from that community and must be resident in that community. That is the first stage of demonstration of ownership, because the children know the women that are cooking. The women know the children that are in school. The traditional rulers, the chairman of local government, the community leaders, and even the education secretaries, they are much more familiar and closer with these people. So effective monitoring becomes much easier. But developing the instruments is another factor. Movement or logistics is the next one. You can sit down and develop a very beautiful instrument to monitor this program, but logistics becomes an issue. Movement from urban to rural, some schools are not accessible, some, some places like that you don't even have, you may have barriers like streams, rivers, moving into those areas to make sure that you capture the exact situation on ground. I am saying that what federal government should do is that they have really come a long way doing beautiful things, but this issue of M&A, because that is the only way they too can even sit and measure how far they have gone with the huge funds they are investing into the program. At the state commitment level, they also need to fortify the M&E structure already on ground so that they will be able to assess what is our contribution, what has been our impact, how far have we gone. Yes, it is a federal government initiative, but the states benefit from there. The children belong to us, and that's why most of the state governors are really giving this support we are experiencing today. Because if you understand truly that the children are yours, the schools are yours, the parents are yours, the women are yours, the farmers are yours, of course you have no option than to key into this program and make sure you pay your dues to ensure that it works out well. So I think we need to look at the issue of M&E very seriously. And then the next one is we sampled the women's opinion here and there. And majority, I can tell you for sure, 99% of all of them keep insisting that if you need to provide a balanced diet, dish contains some fruits, contains some animal protein, there is just no way 70 naira can be enough for this. They keep asking for support so that this can be stepped up. We are all in Nigeria. We know how much we buy foodstuff in the market. And you begin to wonder how these women could provide all these items with 70 naira. Their transport is inside it. Their own logistics is inside it. Their own profit is inside it. How far can a cook go providing all the items, including one egg per child, with 70 naira, when you know very well that one whole egg is 50 naira in the market? The other 20 naira you use it to provide the fruit and the food. It seems very, very impossible. You can see that these women are really sacrificing a lot, not only because they are regretting doing it. The joy they derive is that the children that are benefiting from the program are theirs, and they are part of the community. So please, we are asking that this issue of 70 naira should be reconsidered by the federal government, and also it's not easy to really commit the council.
Oh, all right. Mr. Abifai, we'll return to you again at Enugu Network Center. Let's bring in again Dr. Bamidele Omotola. Dr. Omotola, as a nutritionist, because Mr. Ona was talking about the apparent inadequacy of 70 naira to provide all the various items you need for a balanced diet. And of course, the basis for that was the question I asked him, with regard to whether there was any noticeable difference between urban and rural areas. I would imagine, for instance, in rural areas, fruits, shouldn't be a challenge where you have virtual, orchards growing everywhere. How much, in terms of advice, would you like to proffer with regard to harnessing or harvesting what is locally available as part of the menu for the pupils?
Well, I said earlier that the conception of the program is robust. Robust in the sense that it focused on what is locally produced in the different areas. If you remember what Osun said they were feeding on 42 naira until federal government increased it to 70 naira, and now they are feeding on 70 naira. So in other words, the thinking behind everybody, particularly in the states, has to change. They need to recognize the fact that the children we are talking about are their own children in their own locality, in their own states. If 70 naira per day, multiply it by the number of days, and have an average family that was being paid, is it 18,000 naira before now, or as at now, which is the minimum wage, how many children you meet the other requirements for that family? So let us have an open mind, and then let's see. And this country is so blessed in the fact that we have different fruits coming up at different seasons. Right. And like you rightly said, in the rural areas, that's where most of this come. For example, if you go to Benue State, probably before now, where you can find a whole bag of oranges for less than nothing. For people in those areas, how much would they buy an orange for a child? Or buy a mango for a child? And then the different food stops in those areas. So the saying that you feed a child with an egg, do they feed the child or the children on a daily basis with an egg? So I think they need to come out and have disabused their mind to be able to see that they want to provide something meaningful within this envelope. What can we provide within this locality? And I think that's what I think they should go. The idea of pulling together, having a central logistics, and that's where it is bringing all these issues of the cost. By the time you centralize it, then you think of going to a central location, including transport, including this, including that, then definitely the price will go up. And then it will not be able to fit the need of that child. And you will also recall that when he was talking, he was saying the cook will have to make profits, the this have to make profits, the transport and all these other things. So these are the elements that is making the cost, the unit cost for a child to be 70 naira. Oh. And how much are we talking? What size of food are we talking for what child? It's not for an adult like myself. I'm talking for children. So let us look at it from that point of view.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Omotola. Let's get back to ActionAid. Delivering on an effective school feeding program is not difficult, really. And there are prototypes across the continent and other parts of the world. What do we need to reinvent the wheel here, or what exactly are those areas to address as core concerns?
I think very uniquely, one of the videos, one of the clips that was shown, showed that a woman was complaining that the food is not sent to them on time. So who is buying the food? What is being paid to the women? You know, the issue of transparency and accountability, and that's why we are so worried. I think it should not be reinventing the wheel. We need to look at best practices. We need documentation of the process to be able to show, even from the states. And that's why right now the team of almost every ActionAid staff and so many consultants are in the field, because we need to detail everything concretely. Who is going to monitor and give us some reports? And our own responsibility is to ensure that we can get the reports from the community to the state level, and also getting all the reports and combining it. The first report that is going to come out is in March. Our first report that will come out comprehensively is in March. And when you are looking at who is responsible for what, like Isley pointed out, the waters are not there. What does the school provide? We believe in redistribution. that there is money enough to provide for every child in Nigeria. We believe in that concept. I was in Sierra Leone some time ago, and they complained about the school feeding program. Is that the government is saying, we can't be everywhere. You civil society organizations, you are in different states, you are in different communities. But again, civil society maybe is a bigger organization. We need to look at community-based organizations. And that's why with the Nigerian program, we are looking at civil society organizations that can tap with about 9 civil societies, like 9 community-based organizations, to make sure. But now, because of funding, we are limiting it to say you can from between 6 and 9 as you can afford, to be able to bring us the report about the organizations. But we are calling on all Nigerians to be monitors. I think there are so many websites, things that are coming up, when we are giving the report that you can monitor the school close to your place. And it's not only at the rural environment. We are talking of states where parents are not paid. Some parents are not paid for about 9 or 8 to 9 months, which makes them even worse than the people in the rural areas. Because you can say, you know, the funding in terms of how much is the cost. If you're in the rural areas, vegetable is cheap. You know, there's so many things that can come in to grow. And like Hajia Mariam pointed out, with the Empower program, those who are agric extension workers, they are now working with the agric environment within the conference of the school to see who is producing what for cheaper attitude. But again, we need the money to go to the person who is cooking.
That's what we do.
Who is doing this to the cooking? But again, when there is a corruption, the money may go into their programs, but they may, into their accounts, but they may not. If not, why would a woman be complaining the food is arriving from the local government late? So is it operating the way it should be? Again, we need to note another conflict that is in the school. That conflict is that you are feeding children from primary 1 to 3, who is feeding the rest, and is in the same school. What is happening in this environment? I think
some of them may resist promotion to
exactly.
That's what's happening.
You know,
I actually heard that was happening.
Oh, what is
that they didn't want to go to class 4.
So, but there is an opportunity here, Kingsley. There is an opportunity for the legislatures, or for the parliamentarians, and those who are having constituency programs. Why don't you key into this environment and be able to feed the children in your school? How many millions are we sending? We are sending children outside the country and paying millions of dollars in the school fees of the children. But there are children within our own environment that cannot eat the basic, food, the basic things. There are opportunities for people.
Is it necessarily the case, Mrs. Obi, that perhaps these are early days yet for the program, and so it's not fully crystallized yet? You just made a very important suggestion now with regard to politicians, or those, who are in the legislature, to use aspects of whatever they get for their constituency projects for this. Let's bring in again Hajia Miriam Uwais. I don't know how many, excuse me, I don't know how many reports that you have received of pupils who are resisting promotion to the to the upper classes, but there is also an adjunct to what you're doing with the school feeding program, in order for pupils to fully maximize the nutritional prospects. There is a deworming exercise. Yes. How well is that going?
Yeah. Oh yes, we've got organizations that have offered to give us free deworming, and so we've got officers from the Federal Ministry of Health working with the state ministries of health, and the deworming process has started. We're actually trying to also, during enumeration, to link these children to the nearest primary healthcare center, so they get community insurance and health insurance. All of that.
Sorry, that's primary healthcare centers. Those what they are seeing the doldrums. They're only just rolling out now in terms of
yes, well, they are rolling out. So we're trying to get the numbers. Data is important, so the primary healthcare centers know the numbers of children that are there, and trying to ensure that there's some link, so they know where to go. All of these can only come when you do the numbers, when you are able to ascertain what the quality is of, the food that is being fed to these children. The deworming exercise is meant to happen twice a year. We've already started the first number. But I need to make the correction. We don't expect our cooks to go to the market. We expect the state to link the farmers directly to the cooks. So the cooks don't have to wait. I mean, the farmers themselves see it as a sustainable source of income. So where we have suppliers of the lump sum items, the protein items, it's, as in Osun, the meat, the fish, the eggs, the state actually negotiates with the associations to say, instead of 30 naira per egg, can you make it 28 naira? Instead of 35 naira, can it be 27 naira? And so we now pay the governor rights to say, this is the account number that you pay, and they take it upon themselves to deliver to the primary schools. In some states, like in that instance that was mentioned, what happened was right down to salt, they now said must be supplied. And they didn't write us to say these are the people supplying. What they did was to give contracts, right? And because they didn't have access to the money, they now took mandates to the banks to say these women have some printed, to say we want money transferred. And a woman gets an alert that she's got 84,000 in her account. She goes to collect the money, she finds 15,000 left. So what happened? Oh, we got a mandate that 80% of the money should be moved to a special account, because that special account is paying suppliers.
Is the EFCC into this already?
Oh, yes. We sat down with the EFCC, explained everything to them. Because it's entitlement, it's a culture that we're working against. People trying to scam the system without thinking of the impact it's having on the children themselves. They're selecting cooks from far away. So these cooks now have to factor in transportation. Exactly. You understand? So they have to subcontract, you see, or they fail. They don't cook. You understand? So we're actually asking them to take off these cooks and bring in the people that actually, and the schools are rejecting women that they don't know. If I don't know you, how can you cook for my child? You understand? So they're coming back, even though we keep getting assurance, oh, we followed your guidelines. When you come to the practice itself, you find the implementation, you find that there are distortions. But as I keep saying, it's a process. And people are getting to understand that they can't scam the system without the matter coming to us. And we're saying...
One question we asked you some time ago had to do with the potential influence of partisan politics in all of this. How much have you seen now that the program is slightly over 18 months?
Well, we've tried, I mean, in the states where it's working seamlessly, right? It's because they have been able to insulate the process. They've selected women who actually exist within the vicinity. But I will admit that in some states, even though they've said to us, oh, we're selecting women from the state, we've done an open, transparent process. When it comes to implementation, we find that they've actually selected women that are wives of political party holders. They've selected suppliers that are that State House of Assembly, for instance, and they're supplying firewood. You know, it's just outrageous. It's just outrageous. But what we've seen is that the state governors, when they understand, we tell them in 10 days, 400 million, 500 million went into your economy to these women directly. They sit back and they review and they replace. You understand? Because a lot of it is, it's a process, as I keep saying. They are coming into the awareness of what we're trying to do. We're fueling the economy, and it's a wholesome thing. The child is being fed in the community. The mother is cooking, and the father is supplying the agricultural produce. So the community owns the process if you do it right. And when the community owns the process, then they will protect it.
So still with you, Ajaf. For some states that are still refusing to buy, earlier you made mention of Lagos, you made mention of Edo. Now, how do you begin to pull in that direction to actually bring them on? What are you doing?
It can only be suasion, you know, trying to get them, because I saw some clip from children in Lagos State saying, please, we want to be part of this. I've got calls from Lagos, but until they open their doors to us, we can't do it. So the Vice President is speaking to the leadership in that state to get the people that we need to talk to in one place so that we can engage them. And I keep talking whenever I see them. We're still coming, you know. It has to be moral situation because we can't go in without them.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Hajia Ways. Let's go back to Ifeanyi on Enugu Network Center. We need your response to be very brief at this time. In terms of coordination, is there any conflict? Who is in charge of the school feeding program? Is it SUBEB? Is it the governor's office? Is it the commissioner for education? Or is it yourself as coordinator of social intervention programs?
In Enugu State, there is no conflict at all because as soon as the program was introduced, our governor set up a multi-sectoral team. This multi-sectoral team were members drawn from the key ministries who are key stakeholders in the implementation process. For example, Ministry of Health, Agriculture, local government, and even the Ministry of Education and others. It was stated clearly that this team should be in charge of proper implementation following the national guideline of this program. Then the committee or the state team sit regularly to look at their plans, and that was where we set up a structure. That structure is that we cannot implement this program without the education secretaries, who somehow act like the commissioners of education at the various local governments in terms of implementation. We are working very closely with them. Then at that local government level, we also have the chairman of the school-based management committee who are working with the education secretaries to bring reports, receive information. We work together, we meet occasionally to review our operations and see where we have some challenges. So as it stands, in Enugu State, there is clear understanding of responsibilities, who does what, and that's why the program has been up to this moment. It's very clear. Thank you.
We'd like to appreciate you participating in our discussion this morning. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to interrogate whether some pupils in Enugu State are also resisting promotion from primary 3 to 4 and all of that. Maybe some other time we'll take a look at that. Thank you very much, Mr.
The other time we had some guests. One also joined us from, the coordinator joined us from Enugu and said something about a particular school being fed and the other opposing school wasn't being fed.
So you were having bullies who were scaling the fences and all of that. Let's take some reactions. You have had tweets on the screen already, but let's take some more now from what we have and then listen. Okay, let's start with that of Sonny Michael Omakoji. It says, the school feeding program is a huge success. However, some states' governors' wives have hijacked the program. Those governors' wives are not cooking according to specification, and it seems they are not answerable to anyone. Idako Christian tweets, there should be proper monitoring from the administrators to the executors and also from the kitchen to the pupils' classroom, because there was a case where pupils were served with bread and stew. There should be balanced diet in the menu. Bread and stew is actually healthy. I believe,
the composition of the stew is what you'll be looking at for now.
Depending on the nature of the tomatoes that they got from the market, whether it's the rotten one or the fresh one, or whether they just use paste.
Is it bromate free?
Protein, there's no meat.
It is not. If it's stew, but that's fine.
Okay, let's find out what George thinks about the school feeding program. He said it's okay, interrogation is fine, but when the institutions to work are corruptly appointed, we will continue to shout, coupled with big grammar.
Idris Dangalan tweets, now, does the program include nutritional and catering professionals to analyze the meal? Does the meal contain what is good for a child's growth and health? And are disposable containers in use?
Wadoro Gene tweets, the best M&E, that's Monitor and Evaluation System, is one that is self-regulating to ensure quality meals. I firmly believe several cooks should be on ground and the students have meal tickets.
Amoto Shaw has this tweet. It says, good morning, awesome analysts, and that's to our guest. It says the school feeding program is good if the policy can be continuous. In other words, the issue of sustainability. Closing thoughts now, very briefly. Dr. Bamidele Omotola, in terms of outcomes, nutritionists often talk about the linkage between healthy diets and academic performance, all other things being equal. If you were to make a suggestion, at what point would you ask that monitors check out performance on the basis of what we are doing as one of the major outcomes of the school feeding program?
Well, I advise that there must be a robust guideline. What would a child is expected to be fed in terms of what, in terms of nutrients that they intend to meet? I don't think there's any guideline to that effect now. But if there is, because if there is, we won't be having the issues that we have in Osun or in Niger, or the one that you mentioned, the one you mentioned in the social media, where people are fed with bread and stew. There must be a standard that says that if you are doing your menu plan, to be able to attain this level of nutrients, the energy level, the protein level, the mineral or the vitamin level, you must be able to reach this. And then you need a combination of this and that to be able to meet that. Once that is not done, then we'll be having the issues of governor's wife feeding whatever they feel that is good enough to be able to feed to a child, until we'll be able to, and then we'll strictly ensure that these guidelines are strictly followed, and then the child will be able to benefit for that. But in relation to your other question about nutrition and intelligence, the children we are talking about are children that are already above 2 years. And a primary one child, by Nigerian standard, is expected to be at about 5 or 6 years of age to 9 years. So what we are doing in school is just to ensure that we prevent hunger. And that is what is in the guideline.
Thank you very much, Dr. Omotola. Let's take the final word from ActionAid.
Thank you very much. We are very excited about the program, but we are also worried about the release of funds from the federal government coffers. In 2016, about 500 billion was in the budget for this program, but less than 100 billion was released. I don't have the figure for 2017. So it's not only in having a laudable program, but putting it in the budget, but also the budget, the release of the budget. So we are encouraging that if you have this program, let's release the funds so that when you go out and empower, and implement, because like Dr. Omotola is saying, it's not only in the funds, in the guidelines. The guidelines are there, but the implementation of the guidelines, who is monitoring, and we are willing to monitor. We also ask that the federal government supports us with data. As the monitors at the civil society are going to go out, we need the data. Thank you.
Yes, I really appreciate what is happening. I appreciate the fact that there's an interest in the nutrition. We do have the guidelines, but when it comes to the implementation, it's a different story. And this is why we need the monitors. That's why we need the cash backing. We need to insulate this process from politics, because ultimately I keep repeating, this is about our children, this is about our future. And so where we see, for instance, in the states where the mothers of the children in the school are the ones feeding, it works best.
Respond to this. NLB was saying that you probably received only about 20% of your funding.
12%.
12% of your funding?
Yes, the first year we got 80 billion out of 500 billion. For our 4 programs. 2017, we got 50 billion out of 400 billion. So this is right on point.
All right, Hajia Miriam Uwais, Special Advisor to the President on Social Intervention, would like to appreciate you for being with us on the program this morning.
Thank you.
And also, thanks to Mrs. Ene Obe, Country Director of Action Aid. We thank you for this, participating in our discussion.
Thank you very much.
And also, Dr. Bamidele Omotola, a nutritionist. Thanks a lot for your insight. And earlier on, we have signed off Ifeanyi Ona, who joined us from our Enugu Network Center. So we'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll take 1 or 2 of our complimentary segments and we'll call it a day.
Cold and flu can spread through the contact of hands. And in such situations, I can't risk falling ill. So I recommend Dettol, as it protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why I want to be Dettol sure. Dettol, be 100%.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Well, we'll just have little time to check with the meteorologist for the weather prospect for today.
Thanks for joining us on the weather segment. Let's take a look at the weather condition for Tuesday. By morning, we expect partly cloudy to cloudy condition over the southern cities. Sunny and hazy condition is anticipated over the central and the northern cities. We have accumulation of moisture over the south coupled with rising temperatures. These are favorable for weather activities over this region. As such, there are prospects of isolated thunderstorms over the coastal cities, which is expected to extend to the inland cities of the southwest, places like Abeokuta, Osogbo, Ibadan, and Akure axis. Maximum temperatures of 40 degrees was recorded over Yola, Makurdi, and Niger State. Let's take a look at maximum temperature forecast.
Well, that's our package on Good Morning Nigeria for today. We'll see you again tomorrow by the grace of God. My name is Blessing Abu. Thank you for watching.
And I'm Kingsley Osalolo. I join Blessing and appreciating you tuning in today. We're back tomorrow, as I said, 7 o'clock in the morning. You have a nice day.